Okay, welcome to the weekly press briefing of the Kosovo Specialist Chambers, where we're aiming to provide journalists with an update on the latest developments at the court and the opportunity to ask questions. Due to compelling humanitarian grounds, the trial panel and the pretrial judge have instructed the registry to manage a custodial visit to Kosovo for Hashim Thaçi to be with his father. During the custodial visit, the accused remains in detention and in the custody of the specialist chambers. This is the third time that the KSC panels have granted a request from Hashim Thaçi to visit Kosovo on compelling humanitarian grounds. Overall, it is the 13th custodial visit by a detainee to Kosovo managed by the registry on humanitarian grounds. In the case of the specialist prosecutor versus Hashim Thaçi, Bashkim Smakaj, Isni Kilaj, Fadil Fazliu, and Hayreddin Kuçi, on the 10th of March, the pretrial judge rejected a request by the defense to appeal her earlier decision on framework for the handling of confidential information. Mr. Thaçi's defense was seeking to appeal the part of the decision that prohibits him from contacting, quote, any witness or victim whose identity has been notified to the defense in the present case or any other case before the specialist chambers. In her decision, the pretrial judge reminded that her original decision, quote, does not prohibit Mr. Thaçi's legal counsel from contacting or communicating with any witness whom they consider relevant to the case, nor does it prevent Mr. Thaçi's counsel in any way from taking instructions from or consulting with Mr. Thaçi for the purpose of mounting a defense, as long as there is no personal contact between Mr. Thaçi and the individuals in question. In the Yanuzi et al. Case on the 6th of March, a constitutional court panel consisting of judges Vidar Stenslen, Roman Nenkov, and Romina Inchuti decided on a referral from Haji Shala alleging violations of his fundamental rights. In his referral, Mr. Shala contended that the pretrial judge failed to consider the lawfulness and merits of Mr. Shala's detention during his initial appearance on the 13th of December 2023, following his arrest that year in Kosovo. The panel concluded that Mr. Shala's initial appearance complied with Article 5.3 of the European Convention on Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms. The judges noted that he had been adequately informed of the pretrial judge's reasoning on his detention, and he had been afforded the opportunity to be heard, and that although the pretrial judge could have been more explicit, his decision does not suggest that he overlooked the lawfulness and merits of Mr. Shala's detention. As a reminder, in this case of Sabit Yanuzi, Ismet Batyari, and Haji Shala, the case concluded earlier this year after all three pleaded guilty to intimidation in criminal proceedings and to obstructing official persons in performing official duties. Following the approval of their plea agreements in February of this year, Mr. Yanuzi and Mr. Batyari were each sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment, including time served. And Mr. Haji Shala was sentenced to 3 years of imprisonment, also including time served. In the same case, on the 6th of March, the trial panel dismissed a request by the Haji Shala defense for the judges to review an earlier decision by the registrar, which determined the complexity level of the case for the purpose of calculating how much legal aid Mr. Shala would receive from the Kosovo Specialist Chambers. The KSC legal aid system exemplifies best practices in legal aid standards and guarantees compliance with fair trial principles while transparently ensuring the sound financial management of legal funds. Any suspect or accused person before the specialist chambers who demonstrates that they cannot afford to pay for their defense, in part or in full, is provided with legal assistance to pay for any lawyer of their choosing who is professionally qualified to be on the KSC list of counsel. The Specialist Chamber's legal aid fee is paid directly to counsel to cover remuneration of counsel and the other members of the legal team. The maximum legal aid fee is calculated based on the stage of proceedings and the complexity level of the case, with a complexity level of 1, 2, or 3. In the recent request, the Haji Shala defense disputed the decision by the registrar to assign the case in the trial phase with a complexity level of 2. For crimes against the administration of justice, regulated under domestic law, at this complexity level, a maximum monthly fee of €12,675 is set in the regulations during the trial phase. Other costs provided for in addition to this fee include translation and interpretation costs up to €1,150, €10,250 for contracting external investigators and consultants, and a total maximum of €10,249 to support investigations across the different stages of proceedings. In their decision on Haji Shala's request about the complexity level, the trial panel recalled that when the registrar made her determination, she had gone through every applicable criterion listed under the legal aid regulations, and she had provided reasons why she considered that this case at the trial stage should be assessed as complexity level 2. In the same case on the 5th of March, counsel for Ismet Batyari filed a request with KSC President Ekaterina Trendafilova asking her to clarify or vary 3 of the conditions of Mr. Batyari's recent conditional release. As a reminder, after Sabit Yanuzi and Ismet Batyari had served 2/3 of their respective 2-year sentences, the KSC president decided to modify those sentences to allow for their release under certain strict conditions. In the recent request, the Batyari defense was asking the KSC president to clarify and/or vary specific conditions related to 1, refraining from any contact or communication with a victim and relatives; 2, refraining from any contact or communication with potential witnesses or victims before the specialist chambers and the SPO; and 3, refraining from making negative, violent, intimidating, threatening, or coercive comments towards or about potential witnesses or other persons at risk on account of their cooperation with the KSC or the SPO. On the 7th of March, the KSC president issued a decision dismissing the request and observing that, quote, Mr. Batyari's counsel is not seeking clarification to the already clearly defined conditions, but rather generally disagreeing with the nature and scope of the conditions imposed, as well as their implications on Mr. Batyari's level of communication with those persons referred to in the modification decision.